Good morning, folks. In this video is a follow-up to my countif, sumif. I've extended this dashboard idea and I wanted to go over one issue using query. So first of all, we had made a video recently showing how you can use countif, sumif, countifs, sumifs to come up with some different information. And then also you can write a query to do some summary of the data in a different way and maybe more easily. And we applied those ideas over here on a dashboard. And as you can see, this is just a sum of the sales. This is a validation menu that lets me change to my different sales reps in different regions, and we can compare that 102,000 for the eastern region for Sioux. We can see that that matches what we have down here. We can switch this to a different region. So that's one way to have a dynamic setup. But thinking about how these are working, this is a countif. We're counting if our region, we have set up a named range, is equal to A6, B6, C6, and so forth. So that's a countif, and then we just graph that. This is a sumif, and then we, again, charted it, and we actually did a conditional format rule here where we basically highlighted the max so that that stood out. That conditional format rule, by the way, looks something like this. It's a custom formula that says equals G7 equals the max of G7 to J7. And that's a nice way to have that particular number stand out. And if that were to change in your underlying data, that highlight would change. But coming down here to the query, I wanted to show you there is a way to summarize this data using queries. And one way is to write a query for each column. And what I've done here is put my regions across the top and my sales reps down the side. And then I've referenced those with my query. I've said, query all data. That's my all data set is all the data that we had on sheet 1. We're selecting the sum of D where B is equal to A34. So we're selecting where it's equal to Betty and C is equal to Eastern. So it equals to B33. So using that formulaic, what we did is notice we locked the A reference on this where B is equal to this, and that's to have that not change as we copied that formula across. And then conversely, the B is $33 because we're locking it to this row. And then as you can see, let me go ahead and copy this formula onto my clipboard. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to get rid of all this data and show you that if I paste that in there, then I can drag it across because of the way I've written that and drag it down, and that formula works. Then I'm just going to have to go ahead and reformat that the way I want. I think all I had done was centered it. There we go. But notice how I can do the same thing with a single query formula down here. And this would be a lot nicer and easier way to do this. What I'm doing here is, again, querying all data. I'm selecting B, so that's giving me all of the names of my reps. The sum of D, and that's giving me the sum of all their sales. Where B is not null, and the reason I'm doing that, I'll show you, is if I were to have had, let me go to the very bottom of this data set. If I had an extra row in here, let's just put one extra row in and come back to my dashboard. Well, I have the is not null, but if I get rid of that, I'll cut that out and then hit enter. Then notice it's going to skew all my data because it's putting in an empty row, an empty column in my query for those blanks. So if I undo that, where B is not null lets me not worry about the fact that there might be some extra rows that are don't have data in them. And then we're grouping by B, which means it's going to, we're going to group these and it's going to order them by the sales rep. And then we are pivoting C, which is our regions. So with one formula, we're getting all of this data in a nice table. We're labeling the sum of D blank because when you do this kind of a summary, you end up getting a name above there. Actually, that's probably not necessary now that I think about it. That was necessary earlier, but I probably don't need to. Let's check this out. If I get rid of that, let me undo this. If I get rid of label sum D blank, I don't think that's going to change anything for me. No. So that was necessary when I was first doing it this other way here, and I had these this way of doing it. I needed to have the label be blank, otherwise it would have put a header row on top of this dollar amount. I didn't need that here when I used the pivot version of that. So this is the simpler way to summarize your data with a single formula. And then, of course, we're just charting things and having it work out like that.